What is your accidentally caught your spouse cheating horror story? Not me, but a medical resident who I met on rotation recently. One of the nicest guy I ever met, super intelligent and hardworking, and training to be a trauma surgeon by humble as they come. He had been married for 2 years to his wife. One night he gets off a 30-hour call early and heads home to surprise his wife with some flowers and her favorite dessert. It was the anniversary of the day they first met. Only to find her in bed with a random dude. He was so exhausted and confused, he didn't know what to do and just left and went back to the hospital. I saw him at 5 a.m., sitting in the parking lot, hunched over crying. He didn't even have his phone with him, he was just sitting there. Man, nothing breaks your heart more than seeing a grown man cry. It's not something you see often. We called his dad up and he came and picked him up. The guy ended up taking a leave from his residency. Turns out, it wasn't the wife's first time sleeping around. Hope he gets back on his feet. He will make an amazing physician. On family vacation, I picked up his phone because I was bored and the kids were playing on mine. Saw a message to some girl describing that he and I had the night before. Spent the rest of the vacation fighting via text while trying, and failing, to act normal. Friend of mine was hanging out with some guys at a bar and went home to chill with them. He asked how they knew my girlfriend at the time, realized she was a mutual friend at the bar. Guy said she was buddies with his friend. My friend was confused and mentioned she was the girlfriend of a friend of his, me, to which his response was, "Oh, I hope you are not good enough of friends to have to tell him." College girlfriend, and we lived together for a year after I realized she would always have her phone on silent or just plain ignore calls from Jennifer. One day I write down the number and call it a week later. It ends up being her other boyfriend who she had never broken up with before she came to college. Neither of us knew about each other and she had been visiting him when she went home to see her parents on some weekends and breaks. Broke up soon after and her mom said that sometimes you just have to accept things and how I owed her an apology for breaking up with her. It gets worse, but that was the gist. How does it get worse? She was no clubs in tally, so they come to you, who I found out banged a client and some frat dude, cheated on me a week before my birthday after I had bought us tickets for a cruise, didn't find out until after. Had a weird relationship with her female best friend who I found out she was also, even though she called me crazy for even suggesting that something was up. Invited me over to talk a day after she got her own place and found a rapper in the bed. Later found out she had her neighbor the first day she was there. She also borrowed a ridiculous amount of money that she never paid back. She ended up reaching out to me years later when she moved to Texas after her new guy her and got her evicted from her office. A friend of hers had said she could get from her cousin, so she started chilling with some fake thugs out here. Called me at 4 a.m. because they had gotten pulled over and the guys didn't have licenses but had in with them. She said she had to shove the up her snatch and wanted me to come get her. I said call a cab. A week later she tells me her grandpa wanted to see me. He lived close and he remembered as the boyfriend, so I go by and she's obviously up on pills but no one notices. She said the guys she had gotten pulled over with were giving her free pills because they felt sorry for her and the pulled over situation. I tell her that's not how that works and nothing is for free and to stop hanging out with them. Of course she says she know what she's doing. A few days later I get another phone call with her screaming, crying, begging me to come get her at some budget motel. Apparently she kept hanging out with the dudes and they her and took turns with her and then left her. She said she passed out and woke up. I freak out and say call the cops, but she just wants me to smoke her out and take her to her car. I told her I didn't have any and I'd just take her to either her house or car. She freaks out and starts screaming at the top of her lungs, punching my car and windows while we're driving down the highway. Longer story short, she left a week later to go back to the old BF who beat her, got pregnant, he dumped her and she moved to NYC to be closer to his other baby mama in hopes he'll be forced to deal with her too. Walked in on my girlfriend while she was having with another guy. "What are you doing here?" she says. "You gave me a key, remember? I ended up not working today and wanted to surprise you." 15 years later she reaches out, leaves me a message that she'd like to talk. I figure she's doing some 12-step thing or something and wants to make amends. Nope. She wanted to try and sell me on Amway. Woke up to her on her phone with hearts scrolling in Facebook Messenger. We were married 7 years at that point. 2 kids. It was my birthday. Edit, I won't feign total innocence, marriage is hard. I was working and in school full-time so she could be a stay-at-home mom, which was our goal. She realized she wanted something else and moved on. Happens. Roll with the punches. I won't feign total innocence. You being busy and allowing her to stay home with your child isn't anything you should be blaming yourself for. It sounds like you were working hard for your family. If she was unhappy, she should have said something. Please don't blame yourself for that. Came home early. They were fast enough to get dressed but not in a natural state of being, if that makes sense. It was obvious something was just going down. Very cliched, got walked in on and tried to play it cool, like you see in TV. I asked him to leave and he did. We argued, she tried to lie but soon confessed. It wasn't the first time she cheated, but it was the first time that I caught her in the act. Everything in the past was just texts and stuff. She said that she never slept with the other people and it was just pics and flirting. In retrospect, that may not be BS. We divorced, both remarried. Not friends by any stretch, but civil. Went to log into email and a suggested one that I didn't recognize popped up. I answered all his security questions, and reset his password to find emails between him and the neighbor. We were in therapy to recover from him cheating with her, and there they were waxing poetic about their love and when I'd be out of the house so they could be together. The actual horror story is that our 7-year-old daughter is the one who accidentally caught them originally by walking into our bedroom while I was at work. I was at Disney, with our kids, day 2 of a 7-day family trip her father had been, by that point, talking up for about 7 years. He and her mother told us when the kids were born, they were going to take us all to Disney when they turned 7. And 7 years later, it finally happened. At that point, we'd been together for over a decade. Had a great job, a house, bunch of kids, and the full-on, 100%, honest-to-goodness American dream. Life was grand. Until I picked up her phone to set an alarm on night 2 of our family vacation of a lifetime. There were so many texts. So many. I remember actually wanting to hurt her, and having to leave the room. I immediately called the number and heard some strange dude answer with a sleepy, "Hello darling. I'm glad to hear from you." I wanted to die. The sense of unreality that I experienced. It was immediately numbing. Like I'd just switched to the dark timeline. All I could think was, from this point on, everything that I have known about my left, is going to change. My ex left me at Disney with our 2 kids and her grandchild to rush home to be with her side penis. I know your pain, my friend. Obligatory, not me, but a friend. And I've posted this story twice before. Early 2000s, my friend's husband was deployed to Iraq. Together, they had a 10-year-old son and a happy marriage. One day, while he was deployed, I am at home when another one of our friends calls and screams, "Holy, turn on the news right now." I turn it on to watch a human interest story about a fundraiser at a high school 30 miles away. They're doing Relay for Life or something, and as a surprise to one of the participants, they had her husband and father of her 2 grade school children do a video call from Iraq, and displayed it on the football jumbotron. There on our local news is my friend's husband, telling another woman and 2 kids how he loves them and can't wait to get back home to them. The news eats it up, about what a great guy he is. That night, our group of friends convened and decided how we would tell her. I was nominated, so the next day I had to sit her down and tell her what we saw. She called the news station, and they were happy to let her come in and watch the story. They were also incredibly apologetic. Story has a somewhat crappy ending, I'm afraid. She called him out on his BS, they started divorce proceedings, and he went on to legally marry the mother of his other kids, and mostly ignored his son from the first marriage. Dating this girl a few years back, and I became really good friends with her brother just because he appreciated my help during a difficult time for their family. Their father had abruptly passed away. 2 years into the relationship, the brother contacts me and asks to meet up for coffee and a serious conversation. Apparently he caught his own sister with another guy, mutual friend of ours, and this had been going on for like a year. As soon as he found out, I was told. Broke up with her. Still friends with her brother. Go figure. Edit: if I was gay I'd date him. Everyone happy? Haha. Thanks for all the love.